Corbett, VP Finance, pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you, Corbett. Next is VP Student Services, who has sent in his regrets, so we'll ratify those in a bit. VP Student Life.
Hey, I'm Jennifer, she, her pronouns, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Jennifer. And then next is VP University Relations, whom I believe is still in a meeting, but will hopefully be joining us in a moment. And then we have at-large Rep 1, Balkis.
Hello, my name is Bilqis, she, her, hers, and my access needs are met. But my background might be a bit noisy. I can't really escape it right now.
Got it. Thank you, Balkis. Next is at-large Rep 2, Poom.
Hello, my name is Poom. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Poom. And then we have our faculty rep for Applied Sciences, who's just joined us. Harry, if you just want to do the name, pronouns, and access needs, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Harry, and I'm the Applied Science rep for SFSS. And yeah, my access needs are met, and my pronouns are he, him, his.
Perfect. Thank you, Harry. And then we have our Arts and Social Sciences rep.
Hi, I'm Sudan, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Sude. And then next we have our business rep, who has not joined the call just yet, but hopefully he'll come in a bit. And then we have our communications, art, and technology rep.
Hello, I'm Heather. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs, like, I might have to take a 10-minute break around 3:30. So that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Next, we have our education rep.
Hi, my name is Emily. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm not feeling that well today, so I'm just going to keep my cam off.
Thank you, Emily. Hope you're feeling better soon. Next, we have our environment rep.
Hey, everyone. My name is Anuki. My pronouns are she, hers, and my access needs.
Thank you, Anuki. Next, we have our health sciences rep.
Hi, I'm Nafoni. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and my access needs are met.
Thank you, Nafoni. And then I believe our science rep is also in a meeting right now. So we can go back to Mehtab. Mehtab, if you just wanted to do your name, pronoun, and access needs, that would be great. Gabe, did you want to go ahead and meanwhile?
Sorry, what did you say? You want me to do my introduction?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe. I'm the VP University Relations and Vice Chair of the Board. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Perfect. I think Mehtab may be having some technical difficulties. So which one did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Name, pronoun, and then access needs?
Yeah, my name is Wei-Chen. Pronouns he, him, his. My access needs are met.
Thank you, Wei-Chen. And then we can move on to society staff, starting with our campaign research and policy coordinator.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah, she, her, and hers, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you, Sarah. And then we have our executive assistant here.
Hi everyone, Shanika, she, her, access needs are met.
Thank you, Shanika. And then we also have our new transition manager here as well. Lawrence, you may be muted.
Oh my God, a year and a half of Zoom has got me such bad habit. LJ, pronouns are he, him, his, and access needs are met, though I'm going to get a standing desk because I'm like doing too much sitting.
So thank you, Lawrence. And then we have the Peak here as well, but it's not Michelle, it is Paige. Paige, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Paige. I'm a news writer with The Peak. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and you might hear some construction. My lovely neighbor has decided to work on his deck, so you might hear hammering or drilling or sawing or whatever he's doing, so I apologize in advance for that.
All good. Thank you, Paige, and thanks for coming as well. We also have our council chair here. Zaid, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi guys, my name is Zaid Lari. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Perfect, thank you, Zaid. And we also have our council board liaison. I believe the Google account, is that you, Ryan?
Yeah, sorry, that's me. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm the council liaison. Pronouns he, him, his. You'll have to forgive my mumbling. I just rolled out of bed. All my access needs are met. Otherwise, I might doze off.
All good. We have a recording, so you can definitely follow up with that. So thank you, Ryan. We can move on now to item 4. Oh, Maytab is back. Maytab, are you able to? Did you want to?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Maytab. Pronouns are he, him, his. My access needs are met.
Perfect. Thank you. So we can move on to item 4, which is adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Would someone like to move this motion?
Heather.
Heather moves. Would someone like to second?
I'll second.
Wait 10 seconds. Perfect. All right. So I'd like to move to make a couple of amendments. So the first one I want to do is to, under adoption of the agenda, to add a section for regrets, and to, under that section, put down the following motion. Be it resolved to ratify regrets from Matthew Provost. My second amendment is that I wanted to add a discussion item about police presence on campus. And then my third amendment is that I'd like to add an in-camera portion about just an administrative restructuring update. So those are 3 from me, and I'm moving the amendments. So does anyone else have any amendments they would like to add? Corbett, you can go ahead. Oh, Gabe was first. Never mind. Gabe, you go.
Sure.
Thanks, Asif. So I would like to add a motion under new business. We can name this Council Board Committee Appointments. So the motion reads, and I'll type it out in the chat as well, whereas many of the board's standing orders contain a clause allowing for up to 1 councillor on the recommendation of council to sit on a board committee as a voting member. Whereas at its July 8th meeting, council made recommendations to the board on which councillors should occupy these dedicated seats on board committees. Be it resolved to appoint the following councillors to the following committees as recommended by council: Helen Sophia Pajo to the University and Academic Affairs Committee, Zaid Lari to the Governance Committee, Serena Baines to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, Camilla, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but it's there, to the Surrey Campus Committee, Adrian Blas to the Events Committee, Caitlin Hyde to the First Year Engagement Committee, Tony Yu to the Member Services Advisory Committee, and Victor Yin to the Black Indigenous People of Color Committee.
Thank you, Gabe. Corbett?
Oh, yeah, I have 2 sections I would like to add for new business. Appointments for student at large members for committees from the nominating committee recommendation. And a section for, I guess it's final subspace proposal. Is that what that could be new business, or it could be a report from the executive because the executive recommended this proposal?
I think it wasn't referred to the committee, but
yeah,
there is a motion attached to it, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so I think it would probably be
New business
to do it as new business and then have a discussion through there.
Sure, thanks.
Cool. Perfect.
Also, one thing, maybe it's transition matter, but we also need to do an appointment for the hiring committee for the administrative assistant.
Perfect.
I think Lawrence maybe touched on that, but I'll jump in now.
Cool. And that would be under new business as well?
I'll post the motion in the chat because it's very lengthy for both of them, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for a bit. Samad, you can go next.
Hi, so I would like to add UPass survey in discussion.
So I did put a discussion item down for student surveys, and that one was kind of 2 parts. So that one to discuss the COVID survey and UPass. So is it okay to discuss that one?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. We don't need to split it then.
Okay, sounds good. Lawrence?
Yeah, no, Corbett got the thing that I was going to mention about the hiring committee, so we're good.
Sounds good. All right, is that all for amendments? All right, would someone like to second the amendments?
Gabe seconds.
Perfect, Gabe seconds. All right, any discussion on the amendments that have just been put forward? If not, we can put it to a vote. All those in favor of the amendments we put forward, Please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, that is carried unanimously. And we can move back to the main motion. So now it is 4.1, be resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. And we can put that to a vote. So all those in favor of the agenda as amended, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried, and we can move on now to the ratification of regrets. So be it resolved to ratify regrets from Matthew Provost. Would someone like to move that one?
Corbett moves.
Corbett moves, thank you. Would someone like to second?
Gabe seconds.
Gabe seconds, thank you, Gabe. Perfect. So Matt just sent his request, his regrets in, and he is also away, so I think it makes sense. Any discussion? No, seeing none, we can put it to a vote. So all those in favor, so be it resolved to ratify the regrets of Matthew Provost. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. So we can now move on to item 5.1, approval of the minutes. So be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes from our board meeting on June 26th. Would someone like to move?
Corbett moves.
Okay, Sude moves. Corbett, did you want a second? Okay,
Sure.
cool. Any discussion? Did everyone have a chance to look over the minutes? All right, perfect. So if there's no discussion, we can put this to a vote as well. So be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes from June 26th. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. Cool. So now we can move on to item 5.2, which is committee minutes. So be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes from the governance meeting on June 4th, the governance meeting on June 11th, the UAA meeting on June 16th, and the events meeting on June 12th. Would someone like to move? Sama, that's your hand, so Sama moves. Would someone like to second?
Gabe can second.
Okay, seconds. Thank you, Gabe. Perfect. So has any discussion? Has everyone had a chance to check the committee minutes out? All right, perfect. So is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we can put it to a vote. All those in favor to receive and file the minutes from governance, UAA, and events. All right, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. Perfect. So now that those are out of the way, we can move into the new business. So 6.1, signing authority. So whereas several signing officers were appointed at the board meeting on April 15th, be it resolved that as per bylaw 6.11, powers, duties, and obligations of the board of directors, Lawrence Jones, transition manager, be appointed as the signing officer effective July 10th, 2020. Would someone like to move this motion?
Heather.
Heather, thank you. Would someone like the second?
Anuki, seconds.
Anuki seconds. All right, perfect. So we can open up discussion. I could just give a bit of background info. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to meet with Lawrence, who will be helping us through essentially our administrative restructuring transition. He's going to be here with us on a temporary basis, but in the meanwhile, we definitely need the support with signing authorities, and I will be giving an update on the administrative restructuring in general during the discussion, but this is more so, this is pretty standard in terms of signing authority. And so that's like for support with doing check recs and all of that. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. All right. Is everyone comfortable to move to a vote? Cool. So where be it resolved that as per bylaw 6.11, powers, duties, and obligations of the board of directors, Lawrence Jones, transition manager, be appointed as a signing officer effective July 10th, 2020. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right. So the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, folks. We can move on to item 6.2, staff liaison officer. So whereas Article 3.3 of the collective agreement allows for 2 staff liaison officers to be appointed for the purposes of our collective agreement with QP 3338, be it resolved to appoint Lawrence Jones, transition manager, as a staff liaison officer for the 2020-2021 board term. Would someone like to move this motion?
Gabe moves.
Gabe moves. Thank you, Gabe. Would someone like to second?
Heather.
Heather seconds. Thank you. Perfect. So again, this one is standard. There are 2 staff liaison officers as per our agreement with QP, one of which is me and one of which was Shubangi, who is our administrative services manager. I will give a little bit of an update on how things are going with our admin structuring as it relates to Shubangi and the other administrative staff. But this is just to make sure we're fulfilling our requirements as per the collective agreement. Does anyone have any questions or comments, concerns? All right, seeing none, we can put this to a vote as well. So be it resolved to appoint Lawrence Jones, transition manager, as staff liaison officer for the 2020-2021 board term. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously once again. Thank you. We can now move on to the amended motions, or the motions that were just added. So what is the first one again? Council board committee appointments. So, council board. All right, Gabe, did you want to read out the motion that you had again?
Sure. So, whereas many of the board's standing orders contain a clause allowing for up to 1 counselor on the recommendation of council to sit on a board committee as a voting member, whereas at its July 8th meeting, council made recommendations to the board on which counselors should occupy these dedicated council seats on board committees. Be it resolved to appoint the following counselors to the following committees as recommended by the council. Helen Sophia Pajo to the University and Academic Affairs Committee, Zaid Lari to the Governance Committee, Serena Baines to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, Kamia Razayan, I apologize if I butchered that, to the Surrey Campus Committee, Adrian Blas to the Events Committee, Caitlin Hyde to the First Year Engagement Committee, Tony Yu to the Member Services Advisory Committee, and Victor Yin to the Black, Indigenous, People of Color Committee.
Thanks, Gabe. Would someone like to move that motion?
I can move that.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Thank you. And would someone like to second?
Sude seconds.
Thank you, Sude. All right, Gabe, did you want to start off the discussion?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the motion's pretty self-explanatory, but all of our, well, not all, but most of our standing orders for all of our committees allow for 1 dedicated seat on each board committee for counselors, and the counselors that occupy that seat is actually made on the recommendation of council, and council at its Wednesday meeting this week actually made those recommendations to the board. So because, you know, board committees are, regardless of whether we have a seat for counselors on them, still under the jurisdiction of the board to appoint. However, our policies very clearly state that once council makes the recommendation, we are to appoint the individuals that are recommended to the board to these committees. So these individuals you see listed in the motion are the counselors that were recommended to the board to sit on these committees, and, you know, should the motion pass, which hopefully it does unanimously, because that's how our policies lay out, these will be the new council representatives on these committees.
Thank you, Gabe. Does anyone have any questions? I'm happy to see that we have some specific seats set aside for our counselors to make sure that they are able to actively interact in board matters and board committees. So I'm really looking forward to it. Cool. Any comments? No, we can put it to a vote in that case. So I think, is everyone good if we don't reread that motion? Yeah? Okay, cool. So all those in favor of the motion as it reads, seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, so the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, Asif, I know I'm kind of breaking the rules here, but I'd like to add something very important that I just forgot to add. Is that committee chairs, you should take a moment to meet with the counselors separately from your committee meetings, just so that they kind of get the feel for what their duties are and make them feel comfortable.
Thanks, Gabe. Cool. So we can now move on to the next one piece, which was appointment of at-large members on the recommendation of nominating committee. Corbett, did you want to start?
Yeah, thank you. This is I posted the motion in the chat and broken up. It's very lengthy because I thought it'd be most effective just to do it all in one batch, since this is all coming from the nominating committee, as opposed to having separate motions for each committee. So I'll read out, and I do apologize ahead of time. I will probably mispronounce people's names. I'll do my best, but please forgive me. Whereas the nominating committee has received and reviewed student at-large applications for board committees and developed a short list of candidates, whereas the nominating committee has received feedback from committee chairs on that short list of candidates, it resolved that board appoint the following as student at-large members for the following committees: Finance and Administrative Service Committee, Paria Zabihi and Muhammad Ahmad Alam. For University and Academic Affairs Committee, Zoya Nari, Helen Arai, Jess Dela Cruz, Priya Zabihi, Simranpreet Dada, Priyanka Desa. For External and Community Affairs Committee, Ilya Zegerban, Helen Sophia Aho, Simranpreet Dada. For Events Committee, Karishma Sen, Emma Maccabi, Fiona Wong, Abi Harmer, Yashir Gupta, Muhammad Ahad Gai. For Vancouver Campus Committee, Muhammad Saad Itzkhar. For Accessibility Advisory Committee, Jillian Sloan, Vivian Lai, and Spencer Chen.
Perfect. Would someone like to, Corbett, did you want to move that motion?
Yes, I'll move that motion.
Did someone want to second it?
Bill, please.
Bill, please seconds. Perfect. So we can go into discussion if Corbett or the other folks in the nominating committee wanted to talk a bit about or speak on the motion. No, I think like it's pretty self-explanatory. We put out our applications. The nominating committee got to look through those applications and come to a decision. I'm looking forward to having a chance to working with all these students through our committees as well as students at large, and I think it'll really help to enrich our committee experience essentially by making sure we have direct student involvement. Cool. So Corbett is listed. Corbett, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, just a reminder too that we have, like, especially for the external committee, we still have quite a bit of room. Up to 3 more seats are open, so we can still call up for more people if you know anyone, and we can always appoint them at the next meeting or a following meeting. And there's another round. We're going through additional rounds of nominations for, or sorry, applications are open for first year committee, a number of Surrey campus, Vancouver campus has more seats as well available. So please let people know. Thank you. And BIPOC too, yes. Thank you.
Cool. So board members, please make sure to plug those and make sure that you circulate them in your respective networks so we can get some folks on these committees. Cool. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we can put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as it reads, seeking unanimous consent. Corbett, I'm going to mute your mic. I'm assuming you're probably okay. Yeah. All right. So seeing unanimous consent, please unmute your mic now if you would like to dissent or abstain. All right. Seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And then next is final subspace proposal. Corbett, did you want to read out that motion, please?
Sure. This is much longer. I didn't end up putting in the chat because it'd be quite a bit. It is part of the proposal that I did email out to the board. So please do open that up and read along. Okay. Whereas the first floor of the sub-level 1000 has been allocated to various groups such as SFPIRG, CJSF, AMBARC, SOCA, and FSSA, and the Student Union Building, after years of student pushback and conversations at the board table, and previous allocations in the sub for AMBARC, and previous allocations in the sub for AMBARC, SFPIRG, SOCA do not allow for future growth of these groups. Whereas these groups currently support and will continue to support SFS members in the sub, and it is to the members' benefit that these groups have appropriate space for them to operate effectively for now and in the future. Whereas the executive committee recommends that the board adopt a proposal that outlines space allocations that allow for future growth, consider groups and independent student size that benefit SFS membership alike. Okay, Gabe is doing this for me. So 1 second. Okay. Be resolved, the SFS Board of Directors rescind motions, motion Board Director 2019-2-1, motion of the board in 2020 02-26, and motion of the board 2020 03-04. Be it further resolved that the SFS Board of Directors approve the final sub-student org reallocation proposal that assigns the following 1000 level subspaces. Organizational suite number 1 plus storage room, and the numbers are listed on the screen. Organizational suite number 2, organizational suite number 3, organizational suite number 4, and organizational suite number 5, as well as the old copy center suite. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Organizational suite to CJSF, organizational suite number 2 to SFPIRG, organizational suite number 3 to MBARC, organizational suite number 4 to SOCA, and organizational suite number 5 to FNSA, and the old copper center suites to DNA. Be it further resolved that the SFS Board of Directors tasks the President and the VP Finance to enter into sublease agreements with SFPIRG, MBARC, CJSF as per the final sub-student organizational space reallocation proposal, with the subleases aligning with the head lease signed between SFU and SFS for the Student Union Building. Be it further resolved that the SFS Board of Directors tasks the President and the VP Finance on behalf of the SFS to enter in letters of agreement with SOCA, DNA, and FNSA as per the final sub-student organizational space reallocation proposal, like the time aligning with at least the time in the head lease assigned between SFU and SFS for the Student Union Building. Okay, that's a lot.
Cool. Did someone want to move this motion, Corbett?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Cool.
I can second. Gabe seconds.
Thank you, Gabe. All right, so now we can go into discussion. Corbett, did you want to start that off?
Yeah, so this is, okay, so a bit of a background. As some of you probably know, the last couple of years, there was multiple space campaigns to have many of the rotunda groups give them space into the sub. The board last March finally agreed and proposed 2 different options to these groups. One was called 3 and one was 3A. They had slightly different arrangements. The board ultimately decided to propose the layout for number 3, which is what the current layout is in this proposal. If Gabe, if you want to scroll up to it. Basically what that is that MBARC and SOCA share a suite. SFPIRG is in a suite that has 2 offices in 1430. FNSA is in a suite with 3 offices CJSF, the radio station, is in 1 suite with 3 offices, and the copy center and one of the suites with 3 offices is empty with no planned use right now. When me, Gabe, Asa, and Wei Chen did a tour of the sub a couple weeks ago with John, we did a very thorough check of pretty much every room from top to bottom, every space, talking about potential usage for the space. When we looked through some of the suites, I realized that some of them would not be effective for the organizations being placed in them. For instance, having Embark and SOCA sharing at least like having one office to assign to 1 and 2 for another group, and then having one part of that space for Embark, one part of the space for SOCA, it wouldn't really work really well. One, they can't grow, and these groups are expected to be in here. Sorry. Okay. Expected that these groups would be. Sorry, someone cutting in.
No, I think you're good.
It was like echoing. I think it's almost echoing.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, for instance, these groups were expecting them to be in this space for up to 10 years at least. And so over the next 10 years, I expect there will be fee changes. There'll be a need for these groups to add staff or add services and programs. And I don't think it'll be with at least Embark, SOCA, and SFPIRG. I don't think the rooms that they have been assigned will allow them to actually grow. For instance, SFPIRG currently, I think the space at 1430 space kind of works for. Well, they have 2 staff right now. They have a board and they have some space. They'd be actually the space they're in would be 500 square feet less than what they currently occupy. If we've hired a coordinator to support FNSA, and the board in a previous motion has agreed to start exploring the idea of hiring a coordinator for SOCA to help out SOCA. If that gets passed, SOCA they're going to need a dedicated office just probably for their coordinator, plus also an office for their own organizers' usage for meetings or planning or events. So my perspective is that, or my proposing is that we basically effectively give every group their own dedicated space, so that they allows them to grow and expand over the next 10 or so years. And because these groups do serve the same membership as we do, everyone should benefit. It's to our benefit and the members' benefit to allow these groups to have the opportunity to expand a bit. So my suggestion, if you want to go to the proposed, yes, thank you very much, is that SFPIRG is given the 1410 because there is a kind of a partition in that room where the 2 spaces are split. The first part could work as a front half community center. The second half could be as a working space with their offices, which is kind of similar to how the organization currently operates. Embark currently occupies, I think, 1 or 2 small offices. So giving them space for their boards to meet, as well as staff, and having a bit larger common room space for them to operate their programs out of will be a big improvement for them, and I think will allow them to be much more assertive with their planning in the future. Recommending putting SOCA into 1430 for the same reasons I mentioned. If we end up hiring a support staff member, they'll need dedicated space for that individual, plus for their own programming. FNSA would stay in the same space. I believe they're happy with this room, and it 3 offices and the common room works well. And CJSF, because I'm recommending they stay in the room. Effectively, there's very little difference between 1310, 1420, and 1440. But 1310, because they have a lot of, CJS will have a lot of radio, we'll have to spend time and effort renovating the space or improve the space to make it so they can use their equipment, their programs, because they have a lot of specialized requirements. So I'm recommending we do not move them out there, because then we'd have to relook at plans, and it's not to our benefit to do that right now. So finally, the copy center. That currently is empty and has no plans. It has a side office as well as the main area. The board in the past closed down our copy center, so there's been no decision on what to use the space for. And I know through Jennifer Joe, our VP Student Life, that DNA was looking at asking for space. And I think this would make sense for us to, one, to talk to them to double check to see what their requirements are, see if this space works for them. If it does, then to assign that space to them, and also explore the idea of hiring a support staff for accessibility. We could turn that space into an accessibility and support center. That, you know, and we've done similar types of actions in the past where we've hired an accessibility assistant, a part-time student, to help out. But I think we have the opportunity here to really solidify the service side of our organization and the advocacy and service side by giving all these different groups the space they need to grow and improve. I'd prefer, and so one question might be, well, shouldn't we keep these two spaces as is that are open so we can have so for an idea for future needs? But I'd rather operate now on current needs than guess about what future needs might be, as well as keeping the theme and the groups that have similar missions and purposes to be together, to be able to support each other and work with each other. I think there'll be a lot of, excuse the word, but synergy here. And when, sorry, dry throat, 1 second. Also, okay, so what does this still leave though for like bookable rooms for clubs and student unions and students? Well, looking at the other parts of the building, one, we still have the workshop. We still have that discussion on what the workshop will do. That is, we can definitely meet with students to talk about potential uses for that space. We also, from a meeting room perspective, we have 21 meeting rooms that can be booked. Most of them are on the 4th floor, and there's a number of spaces specifically designed for people to be able to come together and host meetings, small and large group meetings. There's 2 rehearsal booths, there's a community kitchen, the ballroom and a reception area, the dance room, the gamers lounge, and I also think the board office, like the big boardroom, will also be bookable. And so there's still a lot of space and opportunity for us to still support members. We can also have that discussion about looking at the original shared space model idea with sort of clubs and student unions to see if this kind of thing can work in different areas of the building. And I'm happy to have that discussion as well. So this is not just, we're only doing this. Okay, that's a lot. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, Corbett. And, you know, just as an update to everyone, we did go over this at the executive meeting, and we were able to do like an in-person tour of the sub to actually see the spaces. So I think that this is going to be a good setup. And also I think it does provide more space to almost everyone. So I think it will hopefully be very well received. Emily, you can go ahead.
Hi, Corbett. Thank you for your very comprehensive analysis. I was just wondering, I'm not sure if you answered this question yet, but originally 1420 was supposed to be SFSS, like it was supposed to be an area for future growth. So for like the physical and mental health well-being area that Sylvia was originally proposing. I'm not sure if the SFSS is still like thinking of doing that somewhere in the sub, but just curious.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen any plans on that. I'd be happy to read what Sylvia's had in mind. Maybe I missed it. I'm happy to look at space like see what those ideas are, and then look at if there's other areas in the building that could be accommodate. I know High Five would like to talk to us about stuff in the fall. I don't know if that's all combined together. I'm happy to look at it.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks, Corbett.
Thank you.
I think that the mental health resource kind of space is a really good idea, and I think we can definitely look into other spaces where we may be able to host that. Bilqis?
I'm really happy to see that we're considering DNA in this floor plan, just because it is important to have like designated space for different vulnerable and marginalized communities. So seeing that we had 2 just rooms for future growth, I think this is definitely a growth worth like slotting that in for. Also really pleased to see that Soka and Embark are being designated like their own separate spaces. As we know, like just different communities, different needs. So really important that Black space remains Black space also. So yeah, I'm in support of this floor plan as it stands. I think Emily, you were just talking about a potential mental health or just a wellness space of some sorts. I think a lot of what we do is tackling well-being in general. So, but just through more focused initiatives like these. So yeah, I'm just in favor and support of this.
Cool, thank you, Bilqis. Mehtab, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just have a first question is this the motion that was presented in the email? So we're voting on that today, which is be it resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors approve this proposal. Is that correct? We're voting on it today. Also, am I right?
Yes, it's the same motion that
Right. So my only concern would be that this motion is a lot of information, like Corbett mentioned, and it was sent this morning, and I feel that I don't have enough time, and I'm sure other board members might feel the same. If I'm not sure if they do, but this is a lot of information to take on and vote on, I feel. So that's one of my concerns, for sure. Yeah.
Mehtab. And if it's, or Corbett, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I understand, and I had similar concerns. The reason why I'm putting this to the board now is partially because as a building is getting closer to completion, there's a lot of logistics related to organizing moves with these groups, and we also have not yet signed any agreements or leases with the groups. So there is I wouldn't say a time crunch, but there is a concern for we'd have to get this type of thing decided sooner rather than later. Additionally, because this is really just a modification of an existing motion that was passed last board, it is moving some people around, but it's not like we're taking up someone completely out of the building or any of these kinds of stuff. So I fully expect that this would be approved by the people that were the groups that we're asking to move around.
So do I have to list again, Osab, or can I
You can go ahead.
discuss? Okay. Yeah, the only reason I say that is even though we're not taking space away from others, we are like, I'm not sure if you were able to read beforehand, but we don't really know what the original last year's board was planning with the 1420 SFSS space. And there is no, like I think Emily brought up the point about the physical and mental health well-being center, which isn't really discussed. Like I feel like the other side isn't presented in this proposal. So I would just have to, like, personally, I would like to look at what the previous board kind of thought about this space. I'm sure there was a reason for this. But right now what I'm told is like this kind of space is just there. Yeah. If Corbett, you want to.
Cool. Thank you, Mehtab. I mean, I can give an update from my perspective as a previous board member. So in terms of the Health and Wellness and Diversity Center, that was a project that I think was brought up several times over the course of almost 2 years, but I don't think there was any actual movement on it. There was no real plans to get anyone in. There was no substantial discussion with High Five. They came to our board meeting once, and then there was no follow-up from some of the folks who were interested in getting that project through. So the potentials, what was the word again? Like potential growth, essentially, that the board was looking at the time, there was no actual plan to put anything new forward. It was more so just in the light of wanting to save space in case we decided to do something with it in the future.
Right.
But there were no actual concrete plans, if it helps to clarify anything.
Right. So in that case, if there was like no plan, what, like, I know Corbett mentioned this in the proposal that we would like to take action now and kind of keep the current needs in mind. But I think also it is important to be visionary a little bit and kind of think the growth, like there's growth going to be outside of like with other groups as well at that are part of the SFSS. So I think that's really important to keep in mind, so that in case that does happen, do we have a mitigation plan? Like at that stage, whether it be a future board or whether it be sometime in the future where we have given the space and kind of assigned the spaces, and then we do see that growth or certain issues are brought up, do we have some sort of mitigation plan? Because at that point, we will not be able to kind of evict anybody because that would not look good on the SFSS. So, yeah.
So just as a reminder, please remember to use the list, as I think Bilqis had a direct response to a point made. Bilqis, did you want to go ahead?
Well, it was to make an earlier comment, but sure. Just want to remind folks that SFSS has been in contact with High Five. I know Jennifer's going to be more in communication with them regarding like a mental health kind of initiative going along with health and counseling. So just that was about the mental health piece, but I will speak later on my listed turn.
Thank you, Bilqis. Emily, I think you're next on the list.
Yeah, I just wanted to reply to Bilqis's point about these groups supporting well-being, and I agree that they do, but I think we should have a dedicated space, however that may look, to focus on physical, mental well-being in general, just for accessibility. I think it's really good if we have one singular space where people can go to, and if those people can refer them to other groups, that would be cool too. And then I had a question for Corbett. I'm not sure if you answered this too. My head's kind of spinning. But what is the floor plan for CJSF? Because I noticed that DNA is squished in between there, and I'm wondering if there's going to be soundproofing.
Okay, I can answer a bit. So the small CJSF thing is a storage room, and so it would just be for equipment. For soundproofing, I know there has been work done, especially for the napping room, to do best to soundproof. There is some challenges because of the way the ceilings are built. They're all hanging ceilings, so some sound will bleed through, but I know John is planning to have a lot of decibel testing around the spaces in and out to see how it impacts things. For CJSF, a lot of their, like with the exception of their speaker that in the rotunda that plays outside, I've been in the space before and they're not that loud. So I don't really see a concern of their sound bleeding in through the other spaces. But that is a good question about the Copy Center. That's why I want to be able to talk with DNA to find out exactly what their accessibility needs are and if that space will work for them or not. If it doesn't, then we can explore other areas within the building.
Okay, so we have consulted with DNA about this, or we haven't?
We just started. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have expressed desire to have space in the sub.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the location next to CJSF, that's all.
Gotcha. Next on the list is Wei Chun.
Yeah, I just want to speak my support for this current model and allocation of space. I think it's really important that we put all these groups together and this space and give them their own spaces. And like the previous model, like pushing like Soka and Embark? Yeah, Soka and Embark in the same space. It's not, I don't think it's a good use of space. And like Balki said, it's just a different community SOCA need their own space, SFPERG need their own space. And I see this floor as like a community, like a really community space where we promote like inclusiveness and like really welcoming space to students. So I think like it's really important that we give spaces to these groups. And I do hear that all the concerns are about future growth. I think there's a lot of space in the sub for future growth. Like if we were looking into that, yeah. But I think it's important to give these groups that fought so hard for this space and see the importance of why they need the space.
Thank you, Wei Chen. Bilqis, you're next.
Yeah, I really brought up a good point about trying to make space just as accessible as possible. And I think that is just all the more reason to include DNA in this floor plan, as well as, figure out the sound proofing and all that beside CJSF. I know I guess Jennifer has responded in the comments. She said, High Five isn't active right now until fall, by the way. So I don't think anything can be confirmed until then. So I know in talks with High Five, there is other space in the building that can be used for something like this. And we can continue these conversations in the fall once they are more active. But I'm definitely in favor of just like supporting the folks who would really don't, like, they don't have a designated space. DNA kind of operates out of SFPERG basically when, life was still running on the mountain. So, and they're even that as accessible as PERG is, certainly good to have agency, as well as they're looking into just increasing support in general. So this is definitely worth this kind of arrangement. And yeah.
No, thanks, Bilqis. And I did really want to stress that this is definitely not an issue of lack of space for these groups or for other potential initiatives or endeavors or whatever we want to take. There are spaces available on the third floor, for instance, that we can look into allocating some different services to. So this is definitely not an issue that, if we give a space to one group, okay, what's going to happen to the next group? I think in our very, very big 110 square foot building, we'll be able to accommodate the folks that we think need the space. So just wanted to emphasize that point. Corbett, you're on the list again.
Yeah, I also want to mention mention to Metab's question about future space. Looking at a number of the meeting rooms are organized within the building in groups. So for instance, there's a section that has 8 smaller team rooms around a central kind of common area. That was pitched last year as a space for potential shared space model section where groups can book out that space for semesters at a time. But that could also be used for potentially a mental health wellness center area because of the way it's designed. Like we do have a lot of options for future expansion and changing. A number of the other meeting rooms could be combined in other ways. We have a lot of options, I believe. And future boards will have other options available to them as well.
Cool, thank you, Corbett. Metab, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just like to touch on how were these concerns brought to the board by the groups that they did not have enough space recently, or just like to know kind of when they were brought up or if they were brought up, because I don't in our board term they weren't not discussed. So
Bilqis has a direct response. Bilqis, you can go ahead.
Thanks. I know that the space model, you could see last year's plans and minutes and how the whole process went. That was a compromise on everyone's end. I just know, speaking with the groups as well as living through personal experience, that have been part of people that do benefit from that service and really witness what they provide for students on campus, that this is a better alternative to kind of squishing folks together and also providing space to DNA. This has been something that is definitely like it's been. I know the groups wanted their own space. That's not really a question. It's kind of been a thing for the last 2 years. So this is just us kind of moving forward with that and seeing if this is a plan that they would be happy with, basically, because we would have to run this by them as well.
Thanks, Bilqis. Mehtab, you want to respond?
Yeah, I just think like is my mic on? Yeah. That we're kind of contradicting here where we're saying that we want to address the current needs, but the reason for kind of moving and reopening this issue, which I know a lot of you guys went through like over the groups have been advocating for space for a long time to get space in the building. So we want to give them space we want to give space to groups based on the current needs, but we're giving them space based on their future needs. So I'm just curious to know what we're prioritizing here. Just Corbett kind of said that we're worried about our current needs, yet we're giving the space, or we're switching up the model a little bit. Well, I wouldn't say it's a little bit, a lot of the groups are moved around. And I think that it's just a bit contradicting.
Bilqis, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So there's nothing contradicting about this. The needs of Black students in last year are going to be the same needs of Black students next year, needs of disabled folks, marginalized communities. That doesn't change, that sticks around for life. We know the context of SFU in general, and like the value of providing these spaces to groups and just trying to make it as accessible as possible for them. So there is nothing actually new being brought up right now. It's just a matter of like switching things and making it in such a way that's just more beneficial for the groups. And this is like one of those things where it's been very clear that the groups have been advocating for. So yeah, I just want to say I don't see any contradictions here. We're just moving along with our equitable, a more equitable offer, I think, which we would run by them. And there isn't really anything to debate here about prioritizing marginalized communities and consulting with them to make sure that they're comfortable.
Thanks, Bilqis. Anuki, you're next on the list.
Yeah, so I just wanted to agree with Wei-Chin and kind of like echo him. So something I personally believe, and like I always ask myself, like, is how can I use my positional power to reduce barriers for marginalized groups? And I personally believe in standing up for BIPOC communities, especially as a South Asian woman myself. And South Asian folks, I just wanted to say, do have way more privilege than Black folks. So it's really important to like build POC solidarity and stand up for these groups who need these spaces. And I just think it's really important that SOCA has their own space, and it wouldn't be fair to just lump them in together with Embark, especially because I know how it feels being like sometimes the only BIPOC person in environmental groups and stuff where they're like majority like white spaces, and it can be kind of like I'm just speaking on my own experience, like it can be really like uncomfortable for me, and so I can't even imagine what it would be like for a Black person, especially like a group. So I just would like, me personally, I would do my best to advocate and fight for a space for Black students. Yeah.
Thank you, Anuki. Jennifer, you're on the list.
Yeah, so I linked my meeting minutes with High Five. Earlier we were talking about an SFSS room for Space to Grow and High Five. So I just wanted to say that in my meeting with them, things seemed a little uncertain because the elections are in the fall, so they're not really sure of the team yet. And they told me that we would meet again in the fall, so I'll be continuing discussions with them. They mainly wanted an open space for peers to kind of support students with their mental health. And I think there's other open spaces in the student union building, like team rooms on one of the floors. So they mainly asked us for some space and basically just like promotion and support like that. So I don't think this current room configuration that Corbett has brought forward in this motion is gonna affect High Five's plans too much.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. The list has been exhausted, or please back unless you can go ahead.
Right. I just wanted to add a couple of things. One, a lot of us did run on this point of trying to have folks just prioritize their time to the community, especially marginalized folks, but just student groups in general, right? Second, I know SOCA is grateful. Like, I'm speaking as a SOCA exec in the last 2 years. From my experience when we were having our conversations, we were definitely grateful for just collective growth in space, but at the same time, nervous about having to share and not share, but like share with non-Black folks what is supposed to be a safe space, and rather just have like a little divide, because that was the original plan. It was supposed to be a like one suite with a divide, and it's not totally a separate safe Black space. So I know this is something from Black folks' end, from our conversation last year, that's something definitely wanted to have, is just a safe Black space.
Thank you, Balkis. Mehtab, you're on the list, and hopefully we can wrap this discussion up fairly soon.
Yeah, I just would like to say, like, in no way do I not support like supporting marginalized communities. Like, I understand, and that was not where I was trying to go with this. The only thing I was brought was that I would go back to my original point, which I started with, was I didn't feel that there was enough time, and I'd like to just state that to make an informed decision. I come from a business perspective, and I do, try to make complete like overall decision, but I do have a business background, and I believe in my world, like, real estate is the most like, it's limited. So when we say things like we can think about doing this, so I just like to see like what the plan is, what the vision is. This is a 110,000 square feet building. I agree, but there was a purpose for each space in this building, right? So I think just to make a more educated decision, I just like simply more time to make a decision or to present and look more into it. But yeah, that was simply where I was coming from.
Sorry, I muted myself, my bad. Yeah, I just wanted to, as a clarifying point for everyone, in terms of when this was sent out specifically, was around midnight, so it was sent out last night. And it's a fairly short briefing note, so I hope that folks would have had the time to go through it. And I also wanted to add that at exec, we had a very exhaustive discussion about the spacing. And on top of that, a lot of us are returning board members, Corbett, Jennifer, and I, who were able to provide a lot of background info on the actual, I guess, history of the sub-project and the groups who are needing space. And this is a pretty minimal change, just to separate SOC and Embark to make sure that they each get their designated space, and then to allocate a space for DNA should they need one. And I'm happy to work on that with them, as I believe in our efforts to combat ableism, we aren't able to do that if we're not providing proper resources to the folks who need them. So I'm really happy to see something like this move forward. I think it's a happy ending for everyone to the very stressful and very rough situation that the SFSS put all these groups through. But yeah, those are my essential lasting points. So this has been a very thorough discussion in which we did take the time to do due diligence and sent out the docs for everyone to review. Emerly?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Balkis, Anuki, and Wei-Chen for voicing your perspectives and for sharing your beliefs about the marginalized groups on campus, and I do resonate with them. I'm just mostly concerned about the lack of information and the lack of consultation with some of the groups, particularly DNA. I realize that they have voiced their desire for space within the sub, but I don't necessarily know if this is the right place for them. And I feel like this process has been a little rushed of just throwing the groups into the different rooms, because I do understand there is a time constraint. So I'm mostly worried about the lack of consultation and the lack of information that is being relayed to the board. So
Thank you, Emily. And Corbett is next on the list, but I can give a quick comment, and then we can hopefully wrap the discussion up and move to a vote. But I think this is a situation where, you know, it doesn't really make sense to go to the groups first and then to essentially promise something that we can't deliver on. So this is making sure that we do our due diligence and are following through with our fiduciary duty to make sure the board approves on something before we move forward with it. And of course, if DNA needs any accommodations or have specific accessibility needs that we can accommodate, that's what we should, I hope that we can, that we will be able to do. So Corbett, if you want to give the last comment, or Balqis wants to directly respond, sorry. And then Corbett, last comment unless there's anything really, really pressing.
Yeah, if any group, you know, including DNA, is not pleased with this like offer or plan, then they will let us know and we can move on from there and work with them on that.
Perfect, thank you, Balqis. And Corbett?
Yeah, I guess my response with Emily is, and similar to Balqis said, that I put a timeline in with the next steps, and one would be to send these out, get feedback, and sign and a letter of agreements or leases, because we do have a bit of time if there is any issues to quickly look at it. And that's why also the motion is tasking the executives or me and the president to go forward with this. And so that's really all I have to say. I think we're starting to go into circles, and I would recommend that we move to a vote, please.
Perfect, thank you, Corbett. Is there any pressing comments? If not, we will put this to a vote. All right, perfect. So based on the conversation, I will do a roll call vote. Mehtab, if it's something you've you've spoken a number of times, and if it's something you've already said, it's okay. New comment. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's regarding the task of the president of the VP Finance to enter the sublease agreements. So I don't think we discussed that, but I just want to say, are we able to volunteer? Is there going to be a committee for that when they do the negotiations, or is there going to be? How's it going to be done? What's the process behind that?
It's fairly standard for the president and the VP Finance to be the ones to handle things like leases. But if there are any board members who are interested in being part of the process or want to like learn more about it, then you're more than welcome to.
All right, I'd love to.
Cool. Perfect. So we can put it to a vote. So let's open it up. Balqis, this is like the.
I'm sorry, but I was just gonna say it was standard. So for like VP and Pres to actually just be part of the negotiations. So yeah, I guess just wanted to echo that.
Cool, thank you. Any last comments, folks? Okay, perfect. So I'll read the be it further resolved clause, and then we can put it to a vote. So be it resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors rescinds motions BOD from February 1st, 2019, motion number 14 from February 26th, motion 7, and from March 3rd, March 4th, motion 11. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors approve the final substudent org space reallocation proposal that assigns the following level 1000 subspace: organizational suite number 1 plus storage room 1302, 1310, 1311, 1313, and 1315 to CJSF. Organizational suite number 2, 1410, 1411, 1412, 1414, and 1416 to SF-PERG. Organizational suite 3, 1420, 1422, 1424, and 1426 to Embark. Organizational suite 4, 1430, 1432, and 1434 to SOCA. Organizational suite 5, 1440, 1442, 1444, and 1446 to FNSA. And Old Copy Center Suite 1300 and 1301 to DNA. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors task the President and VP Finance to enter into sublease agreements with SFPERG, Embark, and CJSF as per the final sub-student organization space reallocation proposal, with the subleases aligning with the head lease signed between SFU and SFSS for the Student Union Building. Be it further resolved that the SFSS Board of Directors task the President and VP Finance on behalf of the SFSS to enter into letters of agreement with SOCA, DNA, and FNSA as per the final sub-student organization space reallocation proposal, length of time aligning with at least the time in the head lease signed between SFU and the SFSS for the Student Union Building. So I'll do a roll call vote just based on the discussion we had. So when I call your name, please say whether you were voting in favor, voting against, or abstaining. So I'll just go based on what Google's list is, and I think it's in alphabetical order. So first is Anuki.
Wait, sorry, can you come back to me? I just have like something just happened.
Pardon? Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Bilqis?
In favor.
Corbett?
In favor.
Emily?
Abstaining.
Hey, Gabe?
In favor.
Heather?
In favor.
Harry?
Abstaining.
Okay. Jennifer?
In favor.
Mehtab?
Abstaining.
Nafoni?
In favor.
Poom?
In favor.
Samad?
In favor.
Sude?
In favor.
Wei-Chan?
In favor.
Perfect. And Anuki, we can come back to you.
Yeah, in favor.
Okay, perfect. So since we were rescinding motions, this one does need a 2/3 majority to pass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 11 in favor, 3 abstentions. Hold on, let me double count. And then I vote in favor as well. So that is 12 in favor and 3 abstentions. So the motion is carried. Perfect. So would folks like to take a 5-minute break? I think we're doing pretty good for time today. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we will return at, so it's 3:48. So we'll return at 3:53. See you guys all in a bit. All right, is everyone good to get back into it? Perfect. Cool. So we have one more item for new business, and that is hiring committee for admin assistant. Oh. Corbett, you had a motion for that? And can you copy paste that into the chat box, please?
It'll take me a few minutes to type it out. Sorry. Yeah, give me a minute. Sorry, I've been rushing around with everything else. Is there another motion we can move? Can we move to put this to another thing, or is this the last motion?
This is the last motion.
Okay. Basically, be it resolved to appoint X to the administrative assistant hiring committee.
Perfect. And would you like to move that?
I'll move that.
Corbett moves with someone like second.
Gabe can second.
Okay, perfect. Cool. And I can give a quick bit of background info, and Corbett and Lawrence, if you want to jump in, if I miss anything, that would be good. But as you know, Kristen, our beloved admin assistant, has moved on to greener pastures, and we are looking for another admin assistant, and we've been taking in applications. We did close applications on June 30th, and now we need to essentially have a SFSS rep, or I guess board/employer rep on the hiring committee. In terms of folks on the actual HR and personnel committee who would typically take on this responsibility, there is myself, Corbett, Matt, and Belkis. So it makes sense to put priority to those folks, but I can say personally for me, I definitely don't know if I can commit to being on a hiring committee right now, just with all the other responsibilities that I am taking on at the moment. And we do want to make sure to appoint someone in a timely manner so we can get in someone who can essentially take minutes for us, because as you guys might have noticed, we don't have a minute taker right now. And we are currently recording meetings and committee meetings, and those will be transcribed as a later date, however, so no need to worry. But Corbett, Lawrence, did I miss anything? I feel like that's pretty much.
Well,
Corbett?
I can say just that it's a good opportunity, especially for newer board members, to get some experience in hiring committees. It can be a fairly positive experience getting to know like what kind of questions get asked, being on the other side of the interview process. I know it was very interesting for me when I did it in 2015. So I do recommend a newer board member to give it a chance if they have the time.
Perfect. Lawrence, you can go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of super quick bits of context. Corbett nailed one of the biggest pieces, but I think two things, especially that being on a hiring committee is completely in line with the direction that you all want to head. And I argued since the Carver model came in that it was a real loss not to have the opportunity for board members to sit on hiring committees for all the reasons Corbett just mentioned, but also that it's a 4-person committee, and you have considerable influence over the kind of people and the kind of energy that you bring, that you're contributing to bringing into the society, and that it's really what properly should be happening. A hiring committee is supposed to be 4. For 2 or 3 years, they were really unusual. They were 3, they were 2.5. It was very strange. It should be 4 people get together and make it happen. And finally, this one in terms of time, we've done a fair bit of shortlisting, and I think it would be acceptable for whoever joins to review the shortlist that the 3 of us have had the chance to do already. And if you're in agreement, you'd be joining from the shortlisting and the interview process, which arguably is where the really important work happens anyway, and obviously therefore the decision itself of who gets to join this fabulous workplace.
Perfect. So what I'll do is Anaki, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say I kind of manifested this, and I wanted to do this. I was thinking about this like last week. Like I wish I was on the nominating committee, and then now you guys are saying this, and I feel like the universe is like actually listen to me. So I don't know. I'm just really excited right now.
Hiring committee. Hiring.
Yeah. Like I wanted to do something like that. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Are there any other folks who want to fight Anarchy on this, or who would like to motivate rather? Cool. So if everyone is comfortable, we can just amend the motion to read Anarchy's name. Is there any other discussion or comments or questions before we go on to do that? All right, perfect. So I move to amend the motion to replace X with Anarchy Karunajiwa. Would someone like to second that? Corbett, I saw you put your hand up. Cool, thank you. All right, perfect. So we can put that amendment to a vote. So all those in favor of removing X and replacing it with Anarchy's name, seeking unanimous consent. So please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the amendment is carried, and we can go back to the main motion, which I can read. So, and Corbett, if you could just type this up in the chat box as well, that would be good. Be resolved to appoint Anarchy Karunajiwa to the Admin Assistant Hiring Committee. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, so that motion is carried unanimously. Perfect, and congratulations, Anarchy. I'm glad your manifestation worked. So we can move on now to discussion items, the first of which is Events Committee update, which was put forward by Jennifer. So Jennifer, please take it away.
Yeah, so the last events committee meeting, we had a few motions, and I just wanted to update the board about what we've been doing. So some of the motions included spending money. So we spent around $100 to replace a Women of the Year award and ship it out again because the previous award broke. We also spent around $700 for a collaboration event with SFU Esports and SFU Anime. It's like a week of playing games, and they're going to be using the money for like a prepaid Visa gift card for the prize pool. And then the last money motion that we had was for Mental Health Mondays. So on the SFSS events Instagram, to kind of facilitate engagement, we're going to do giveaways. The first giveaway was last Monday, well, the Monday of this week that just passed. And I'm planning to host these giveaways the first Monday of every single month. So I budgeted for until like April of next year. So we spent $600 for that, and we'll just be getting gift cards to give to students. We also are in the process of planning some photography workshops, a collaboration with SFU Peak Frequency so they can do like an Instagram live concert. And we also had a financial literacy workshop. So thank you so much to Gabe and Corbett for helping host that. We basically reached out to Van City, and they hosted workshops on budgeting and TFSA. And yeah, that's it for the update.
Cool, thanks, Jen. And thank you for, and thank you to you and to the events committee as well for putting in so much work to make sure students are still able to do fun stuff and informative things online. So I know it's tough, but we very much appreciate it. So anyone have any comments or questions? All right, cool. So thank you for the update, Jennifer. And we can move on to item 7.2, which is administrative restructuring update, which I will be delivering. So I will give everyone just a good, thorough public update on what has developed since we passed our motion for the administrative restructuring. But before that, I wanted to give a very heartfelt thank you and farewell to Sylvia Ciacero, our executive director, Alejandro Reyes, our general manager, and Shubhangi Jain, our administrative services manager, who had been with the SFSS and whom we had the pleasure of working with for different amounts of time, and whose time with the SFSS has officially come to an end. And I just wanted to let everyone know that the executive committee, as mandated, has been working on this and making sure to not only work with them closely to make sure that they are well accommodated. We've been helping them with career support, and we are going to continue to make sure that everyone is feeling well supported through this transitionary period. But I just wanted to give everyone an update and let them know that those are some new developments. And of course, as you guys all know, we do have someone new with us, Lawrence, our transition manager, who has come in and just has hit the ground running and been very, very helpful and very supportive to us. So thank you, Lawrence, to you as well. And as we continue the process, we are going to be working on the job descriptions and starting to hire in the 2 new admin positions that we had put into our report and that we have been working on, the board organizer and the operations organizer. So we're really looking forward to get started on that. And we will continue to work through the releases for the other folks who have been affected by this. But again, thank you so much to everyone who has been employed with the SFSS at any point in time. We're very grateful for all the hard work and the dedication and all the time that you've put into it. And we will make sure to continue to go through this process in the way that is the most accommodating and as compassionate as we can possibly be. So very, very much thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions? All right, cool. And I will continue to give regular updates at the board meetings so that all, students and the council chair and the council liaison and all of that have access to updated and real-time information. So, and thank you everyone for going through this process with us. So far, so good. Things have been going fairly smoothly, and I'm really, really excited to start working on getting this administrative restructuring essentially done and ready for subsequent boards to hopefully enjoy. So thank you, everyone. So we can move on to 7.3. I put this one on the agenda, student town hall debrief, but I assume Balqis is going to have some things to say. In fact, let me just let you start off the discussion as you were one of the main organizers. So you can go ahead.
Sure, thanks. So as you know, the COVID-19 coalition, which the SFSS is a part of, has put on a town hall just for students to just raise concerns and questions and for us to come together and have a conversation about, and I know one of our goals was to just make sure people even know who we are and what we do, the kind of advocacy we've been up to. And I'm really pleased with how the town hall went. We had about 300 people log in directly onto Slido, which was the participation, our mode of participation, and tune in from there. I know the Facebook stream from the C19 Coalition live stream has about 3.5 thousand views. So I know it had a far reach. Folks at the end responded to the survey saying they felt more informed about what the purpose of the coalition is and the goals, as well as they felt like they liked the mode of engaging and the fact that they could communicate with us in that way. So I just want to say thank you so much to the folks who have been, more hands-on with helping me organize. I know Sindhu's been super helpful, our communications coordinator, and Weichen's been helping me out a lot too with this, as well as other folks from the other groups, like GSS, C19. I know we're part of C19, but yeah, C19, and Ali from TSSU, and Vince, everyone's been. It's been a good team, and I'm just want to say thanks to everyone. And let me know your thoughts and comments and things you've heard.
Thank you, Balqis, and thank you for organizing it, and thank you, Weichen, for doing tech support and all of that fun stuff. I had a really good time being on the panel and hearing from the other folks who are on the panel as well and learning from them. So I think it was a fun one for me as well. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I know a lot of these discussion items are just updates and stuff, so there's usually not a lot of questions anyway, but Gabe, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say that it was really, really done well. And I, as someone who's part of, really in deep with all this academic advocacy that's been going on as a result of COVID-19, I was despite that fact, I was still really inspired to be able to watch this town hall and to be able to hear the wonderful discussion that happened. And I was just really overall happy with the level of participation in the town hall and the number of students that were able to attend and actually ask questions. And the platform that we used really seemed to be engaging, and having it live streamed and being able to ask questions on Slido, and the way you can upvote things. It was really quite engaging. And I think that it really sets us up well for, the town halls we decide to do in the future. And, overall, I'm really proud of, and, huge shout out to Balkis, because she was the one who, for a large part, organized this whole thing. And I don't know how to finish this, but I'm happy, and I look forward to, hopefully doing some more town halls in the future. And it was overall a huge success, trying to learn where students are at right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Gabe. Mehtab?
I think it was great. I heard a lot of positive response. One thing I would say is that we should try to maybe put in a work order, or get someone to update our Insta, maybe a post kind of event update. Or I know we've got some Bulkies just put some coverage from news source outside, so maybe we could link that over on Instagram just to show like how successful the event was.
Cool. Thank you, Mehtab. Balkis?
Yeah, good idea. It's really important, like you were mentioning, to have a post-event follow-up. So I'll be putting in like a work order and just working with communications to, I guess, not just say this event happened, but also like, here's what we learned, and here's what you have expressed concerns are. We have some cool analytics, which and just data that we collected based on results. So hope to be sharing those pretty soon. And yeah, it should be really helpful for just organizing and mobilizing as well. So thanks. Oh, I see Paige commented.
And thank you, Paige. We will make sure to respond to your reaching out for a statement. And thank you for putting that together. Much appreciated. Cool. Any other discussion? Again, I think it was a job well done. So congrats to everyone who was working on this. Cool. So I think we're good to move on to the next one, which is, Billy's on the list again. Okay, yes.
Sorry, just a quick comment. And if I'm going to be putting together an official report for folks, then that's on the way about the town hall event.
Perfect. Looking forward to seeing it. Wei-Chen?
Yeah, I think like I was moderating during the event, I was looking at the questions, and like a lot of the concerns students brought forward are what we are been hearing this whole time. So, I think this event really, we need to be pushing it, showing SFU that, look, like we done surveys, we done town halls, like our recommendation still stands, what we advocated for is still the same, and then you need to hear our concerns and you need to take actions, because we've done all we can to really voice students' concerns, and we need to put more pressure on university. The students are really struggling, and they really don't know what to do, and they feel kind of helpless. So I think, yeah, we need to push more, even more in the administration.
Cool. Thank you, Wei-Chen. Cool. So I think we're good to move on to item 7.4, sub-office allocation. Corbett, did you want to speak to that one?
Yeah, it was just an update that with the exec committee, we are working on allocating space for staff. I've been working with John and Lawrence around this to, just because with the move coming, the building so far on track to being completed, the moves are being planned for the offices, and they needed to have some direction from exec sooner rather than later. So I've been working at it, and I'll have probably an update for the board soon, a more substantial update for the board soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Corbett. Any questions or comments? All right. Perfect. And we will make sure to update folks as that comes along. So I think we're okay to move on to item 7.5, exam invigilation, which was put forward by Gabe. So Gabe, would you like to touch on that one?
Sure. Thanks, Asib. So I did put this item forward because we're coming to the end of the summer semester real quick here. We're in about week 9, and the topic of exam invigilation doesn't seem to be going away, and it doesn't really seem to be getting better either. Going into this semester, the understanding of students really was that if instructors were to be using any sort of exam invigilating or exam proctoring software, that their instructors needed to do so before the withdrawal deadline, to allow students the opportunity to withdraw from the course if they felt uncomfortable using that type of software. That was the case, and what was understood by students for a very long time. However, SFU, I suppose mostly the VPA office, has come out just recently in the last week or two, and has has basically gone back on this understanding that they gave to students. What really has been done here is a clear line really has been drawn by the university between what constitutes as exam invigilating software and exam proctoring software. And this is my understanding of what their definitions are. Exam invigilating software is third-party applications such as Proctorio or ProctorU that someone is observing you through an application, through your webcam on your computer while you write an exam. And that is also being recorded as well to store and to keep as evidence if you're suspected of cheating. In comparison to exam proctoring software, which is simply just an instructor or a TA or a TM in observing you through normal video conferencing software such as Zoom or BB Collaborate and not being recorded. However, knowing that fact, there is, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but knowing that fact, students, it's the main concern of students still hasn't gone away. Whereas, because it doesn't really matter if it's being recorded or not. Students' concerns are kind of 3 things. 1, it's downright creepy. 2, it's stress-inducing. And 3, it's an invasion of privacy. These are students' homes, and I think the main thing they're saying to us as students is that how is me watching you through a webcam any different than you sitting in a lecture hall and the instructor or a TA or a TM watching you from the front of the lecture hall or walking up and down the steps to make sure that you're not cheating? And I think the big one is, like, these are students' homes that we're talking about. Students aren't comfortable with someone watching us through a webcam, plain and simple. And, given that fact as well, some students don't have a space. Like, I'm lucky enough to have this space where I can sit in solitude without distractions. Some students don't have that. They can't block off a space for 3 hours to be able to write an exam. And that's also completely ignoring international students who are in a different time zone. So there are concerns that are being completely ignored that, that seriously need to be addressed. So far, the university has really failed to give any clear guidance, procedures, or take any policy measures to actually, make any clear enforceable rules around exam invigilation. A pilot project was supposed to be underway for the summer semester. For certain classes, we're going to go under a pilot project for Proctorio. My understanding is that that has been postponed because they're still actually not sure around the legality of that, whether under personal information legislation of the province or federally even. They're not quite sure if that's even legal. So that's been delayed, to my understanding, from the summer semester, but they're still looking to do that in the fall after whatever legal counsel they still need to receive. I still find that really, really troublesome. I think they just need to go stop it completely because of the concerns that students are bringing to us quite literally on the daily at this point. So what my main concern is that academic integrity and the prevention of cheating is really trumping students' rights and, frankly, human rights and privacy rights and accessibility rights. And despite continuing to bring these issues forward, there isn't really being any leeway at all. This has been discussed since the remote teaching started, and I think I'm just reading Jennifer's comment. It's been discussed at many different Senate committees, such as the Senate Committee on Undergraduate Studies, which I'm actually sitting on right now in my capacity as a student senator. And I'm just reading your comment, Jennifer. If profs are giving up their privacy to host lectures, students should be expected to too. Yeah, that there's so many things wrong with that sentence, but and we need to have a discussion around this and what the SFSS's role needs to be in making sure that this comes to a swift and complete stop, because it's just not working, and it's not making our students feel comfortable. And so I would just like to open up the floor to discussion on that, because I think that in my role as VP University Relations, I need to be able to bring this to the university and have conversations around this. And something I would like to do is actually set up a meeting with the Associate Vice President Academic Teaching and Learning to actually bring these concerns forward. And Asab and I have actually set up a meeting with the Faculty Association. So I'll stop talking now because that was a long rant, but that I feel like that was important to talk about.
Great, thank you, Gabe. And I just wanted to stress the fact that even if it's not specifically Proctorio, there are other equally problematic, equally troublesome exam invigilation software. So when we say that we have an issue with Proctorio, it's not only Proctorio. We take issue with the idea that a student should have to download any kind of exam invigilation software, and that they should have to be subject to room scans in their private homes, or be suddenly asked to turn on a camera or mic, and or otherwise be potentially accused of cheating. On top of that, we recognize that there are other ways to assess students' learning that don't include exams, and specifically the exam format that we're used to. There are take-home exams, there are assignments, there are a billion different ways that if the university wanted to commit to, they could commit to. And I will pass it on to Heather, but just the last piece that I want to say is that we have extended our hands, Gabe and I, at the different meetings that we've had with administrators at Senate, that we're happy to work on this, because we do recognize the issue of academic honesty is a real one and is a legitimate one, but it doesn't trump student safety, well-beings, and right to not be, unfortunately, to have their privacy violated in their own home. So Heather, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, thank God I don't have any final exams. I'm so relieved. But are they taking into consideration the fact that what happens if the internet connection breaks? What are they going to do then? Because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of international students, especially who are back in South Asian countries, because in these regions, when it starts raining, the internet connections becomes very unstable. What happens then? What's going to happen then?
That is a very, very good question, Heather. And the answer, unfortunately, is that it's basically up to your prof whether they'll accommodate you or not. There are some instructors who have been super accommodating to their students and who understand this kind of thing. And then on the other hand, there are instructors who will basically just tell you tough luck. It happened to me. It happened to a lot of students. And that is part of the issue when the university doesn't really mandate anything. It essentially puts instructors in the line of fire of upset students who, are rightfully upset because you're trying to write your exam, you're trying to write your quiz, but your internet cuts out and they don't really have anything to fall back on, or the instructor just doesn't care and doesn't want to make any accommodations for the student. So it's the onus of the responsible university to make some specific guidelines around this to make sure that students are having a fair outcome and that their internet connection is not a determinant of how well they do in their course. And Jennifer says that's why students are pushing for asynchronous course delivery, but SFU keeps saying instructor freedom. Exactly. That's something that we've been saying, that we want to see more asynchronous course components, but a lot of it has not been met with any success. Sude?
Well, from my experience, while we're writing an exam, the Zoom and Canvas crashed. So the instructor later on sent individual emails blaming some of the students, saying that they might have caused it. And some of the students went on to move on to next questions after he canceled the exam, and he was just blaming them and saying that it was breach of academic honesty. And I just I talked with him and I told him, like, yeah, there's you should, how you're instructing this course is just not very right. I mean, I told him about the asynchronous learning. He was like, no, I have my freedom. I'm an instructor. Like, when SFU gives that freedom to instructors, they feel like they can treat students anyhow. And as also mentioned, like, those guidelines have to be very concrete, very transparent, and students should be prioritized, not those freedoms, because the reason why instructors exist is because of students, and if students' voices are not heard, then what is the point? It's just, I don't know, hard to understand.
Thank you, Sude. That's, I think, a really good point, and it's something that we'll continue to push for. And this is an update for the board, and and a call to students. So if you feel that your instructor is not being accommodating of you, or is doing something that you feel is a violation of your rights as a student or your personal privacy, please reach out to us and we'll see what we can do for you. There's sometimes not a lot, unfortunately, but we can try to help you out in any way that we can. So, yes, SFU, yeah. Jennifer made another comment that the admin usually say instructors know what's best for their classes, and then we have instructors that refuse to record lecture but don't hand out lecture slides. Yeah, it's kind of tough because you never know what you're going to get in a course, and if it was something as small as mandating all instructors to just record their lectures so that students in other time zones, or who have jobs or who have families or other commitments, could watch at a different time, that would make all the difference. But it unfortunately hasn't happened, but it's something that we'll continue to work on. So does anyone else have any other comments or questions? Bilquis?
Yeah, I think it's worth connecting and working really closely on this with the TSSU, that is the Teaching Support Staff Union, because I know a lot of support staff it's stressful when there isn't exactly like guidance and stuff like that. And I know not all of them agree with the exam invigilation. Not a lot agree with, like, feeling creepy watching people as they take exams. So this is definitely something we can work together on, and they have a lot of organizing power and strength. I've already learned a lot from them within the last 2 weeks or few weeks. So yeah, let's connect with them on this too.
Cool. Thanks, Bilquis. Does anyone else have anything they would like to say? All right, cool. So I think we can move on to the next discussion item, which is student surveys. So this is kind of a 2-in-1 piece, and I can give a little quick background info, but I will open it up to Summit and to Gabe to talk a little bit about the surveys that they're hoping to get started. But the UPass survey is already out, and this is to inform our decision making as it comes to what will happen regarding the UPass for the fall. And then a secondary piece around, do we want to see an update on the COVID survey that we did back in the spring? So Summit or Gabe, whichever one of you wants to go first, please go ahead.
I guess.
You.
I'm sorry.
Or Gabe, you know what? You spoke first, so you can go ahead.
Okay. I was just thinking as a continuation of the last discussion item. So anyway, I'll just say that, again, the issues that students were facing when the first SFSS COVID-19 survey was conducted in the latter half of the spring 2020 semester are still being faced by students today. And when we bring, the quantitative data that we collected from the survey we conducted in the spring, to the admins, to the Senate, wherever. The main thing we keep hearing is that, that survey was conducted in a very confusing and rapid time, and I don't think that's an accurate representation of what students are feeling in the summer 2020 semester. And in large part, that explanation is probably right. I mean, in my opinion, it's probably gotten worse. So what I would like to suggest, and we had a good discussion about this at executive committee too, but this is an appropriate discussion to have at the board, is whether we should be going forward with a second COVID-19 survey, largely resembling the first survey, because I think it would be good to kind of put side by side what students were feeling then to what they're feeling now, but also kind of contextualizing it for the summer 2020 semester and using that data of this potential second COVID-19 survey to really drive our advocacy efforts for the fall 2020 semester, and let's be real, probably the spring 2021 semester as well. So I'd love to hear thoughts on that, and if there's appetite for doing this as well.
Thanks, Gabe. And I think this is a really, really good idea, as our survey results were very, very informative, but things change. And now that we've all had time to adjust as much as we can to the online learning process, I think we're going to have some good insight. I remember as well at exec, we were kind of thinking of doing it around the end. Sorry, Gabe, I can't remember if you mentioned this already, but around the end of the summer semester, just so we can see how things go with final exams. And also before school starts in the fall, so we don't have a bunch of first years screwing up the results or skewing them or anything like that. So I think between final exams and the beginning of the fall semester might be a good time to put this one forward. Please.
Can you remove me from the speakers list, please?
Okay, no problem. Wei Chen?
Yeah, I agree that we probably need to do, it's good to do another survey. It's because things are always changing, and like this is like the first fully online semester, so it'll be good to get students' input on that as well. But I also want to, in addition to that, we should be really putting our efforts in actions as well. I think as we've seen, like no matter how much we voice our concerns to the administration, they are not just listening to us. So I think we need to escalate and step up action with some sort of campaign. So like something like an email blast to the admins, to their inbox, and really rallying our students and saying, hey, like we need to get together and really push our admins more, because the survey is good, but we need to do more.
Thanks, Wei Chen. Anyone else want to speak? Please.
Yeah, I agree with Wei Chen on that. I don't know. I feel like there's only so much time you can play nice. And if folks who are really capable of making change are not, for not valid reasons, then it's time to escalate. I realize it would be easier if we were in person, but there's tons of like digital campaigning we can do. So I'm totally in support of having like a general like accessible academia campaign or something. Yeah, something they can't ignore. That will actually help students out at the moment.
Cool. I think that's a good idea. We'll take that down on the list. So thanks, Belize. Anyone else? Cool. So,
Yeah, and I can
someone has. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, Alex. Is there someone else on the list? Sorry.
No, but I wanted someone to just update on the UPass, but we can finish this one up.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I definitely agree that there needs to be a larger accessibility campaign, and that's absolutely what this survey is for. Is to really solidify the need, to solidify our knowledge of the needs of students, so then we can move forward even stronger for the fall and spring semesters. So I'm really looking forward to that work, and I think this is a great start.
Thanks, Gabe. Cool. All right, so I think some action items are, once we put out the survey, we can start working on what our key, I guess, advocacy points are going to be, and then some, hopefully, campaigns can come up that. Hopefully in this early fall semester, so cool. Samad, you're on the spot now to talk a bit about the UPass survey, how it's been going thus far. So please go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Madam President. So starting with the UPass survey, it was released yesterday in the evening, I believe. Right as of now, we have gathered a little over 2,700 responses. So from that 2,700 responses, 1,409 are in favor, 1,363 are not in favor. We have received comments saying that they do not want to pay for UPass, even though it's 40 to 50, because classes are online and they are not planning to travel. Most of them, approximately 85% of them, are residing in Metro Vancouver, so they do not qualify for exemption. Today I had a USC meeting with Linda, Andrea, Carol, and Laurie to talk about potentially how we can actually make things work. So we are currently working on providing or coming up with a solution to increase some kind of exemption limit, but nothing is confirmed, so we don't want any comment on it publicly release anything on that either. But we have to be considerate of GSS here. So let's say we are having a 50-50 response of like 50% wants to have UPass and 50% still want to keep it suspended, but approximately 5,000 grad students from GSS do wants to have UPass and they are connected to our contract. So I will take any question now or any kind of discussion, because we will be confirming everything on 28th. We need to give them 30 days to reinstate the UPass if we are coming back or if we are suspending it. So 28th is when UAC is meeting again to discuss everything. And this survey is still going to be live till next Friday. After that, after survey is closed and we have a board development session, I will bring this up again there to have a just conversation and see the mood. And after that, we will be finalizing and going into the meeting on Monday and giving the verdict on it. So right now, the floor is open for any kind of discussion you want me to have with the TransLink or USC or with Linda, Carol, or Ministry, any kind of conversation or anything you want me to bring it up.
Cool. And Samad, could you just clarify what UAC stands for?
UPass Advisory Committee. So it's basically all the post-secondary institution and 16 student unions who participate in UPass plus TransLink comes in. So we just all sit together in that committee and provide possible solutions. So that's how UPass actually came in.
Perfect. And there's a couple of questions in the chat. So Gabe's asking, Samad, can you tell us the positions of the people you just mentioned? And Bilqis is saying, who did you talk to, Samad, and where are they from?
So Carol is from representing UBC. Laurie is Emily Carr Student Union's ED. Andrea is from Ministry. She's Director of Transportation, I believe. And Linda is also from the Ministry. Leah is Chief of Staff in the Ministry.
Cool, thank you.
And TransLink Jag, I don't remember his last name, but Jag is the person who represents TransLink in USC.
Perfect, thank you so much. Heather, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so question for Samad. How much of this decision are we gonna make completely based off on the survey? So let's suppose we have 55% who are in favor of having a UPass. So are we gonna go in favor of UPass?
So we have to think about it right now. Okay, UPass, people who are dependent on UPass, people who are dependent on traveling, and $42 is like really essential, really big thing for them because they are saving so much money. If they don't have that UPass service, then they will have to buy 3-zone pass per month. That's $177. So that's like huge cost. So for them, it's really essential, and that's accessibility issue as well. So other people who are saying that, okay, yeah, we don't want to have financial burden. I really don't want to put anyone in any kind of financial burden in this scenario. But if we don't go with UPass, then 50% of our membership who is dependent on UPass will be under excessive, even more financial burden to make things work for them. And beside that, GSS, who has approximately 5,000, if I'm not wrong, members, and GSS is right now, like even start of this semester, when we suspended UPass, they were all they are connected to our contract, so their UPass was also suspended. And all of their member actually emailed them and told them that they need UPass. They are highly dependent on it. They are grad student. They come for research to university. They go to work, and they are now paying. And they have like a lot more dependents. Like they have kids as well. Some grad students have other dependents in their family. So it's like now they are paying $177 for just to travel. That's huge burden for them. So they really want to have UPass. GSS wants to come back, and I would like to ask Mr. Leosis to set up a meeting with GSS if possible, and we can discuss it really soon as possible. So they are really dependent on it. So we are not just talking about our 25,000 students, our undergrad membership. We are also we also have to consider them. We cannot be inconsiderate here.
Great, thank you so much. Both faces next on the list.
Someone covered that really well. I was just going to touch on accessibility and folks who need, like, there's a lot of people really relying on this financially. UPass, so that's one thing we have to consider, but also the Graduate Student Society and how we do negotiate with TransLink along with the GSS. I know we're two separate societies, but we're treated as one school. So yeah, just having talks with them as well.
Great, thank you both faces.
I would like to also acknowledge Sarah providing last name of Jags, and his name is Man. So thank you, Sarah, for pointing that out. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. Jennifer, you can ask go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of ask about the math, because I know we were talking about kind of setting up some fund to reimburse people who didn't want to pay for the UPass or like couldn't afford it. So if such a fund was set up, I was wondering, like, maybe is it cheaper to, if we had the UPass, is it cheaper to reimburse the people who are going to stay home and don't need the UPass for work or to go grocery shopping or whatever? Is it cheaper to do that because the UPass makes transit a lot cheaper? Or is it cheaper or better for us to continue suspending the UPass and just reimburse the people who need the regular transit? But then people, I think it's like $200 for a monthly pass, whereas for the UPass it's like $170 for 4 months. And I know that some people told me that they'd rather pay for the UPass because they have friends who work and they don't want their friends to have to spend all the extra money. So I just want to throw it out there and say, like, maybe it's better to reimburse students who, like, for the UPass who don't want to pay for it.
Really great thought. I was actually talking to Corbett about this yesterday, I believe. And think about it. If half of the students don't want to pay, let's say 10,000 students don't want to pay for it, but we are reinstating UPass and we are saying, okay, we are going to reimburse it. It's not like we are getting $42, 40 to 50 on our hand. Sorry, I forgot this. Is it okay if I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So it's not like we are going to be receiving that $42. That $42 is administered by university, and university will be sending that money to TransLink. So TransLink is the one getting the money, right? And if we are reimbursing it, that means we are reimbursing it from our own funding, whatever the fund we have. So I will let Corbett speak on this, but like $42, let's say $42 per month to 10,000 students, reimbursing to those 10,000 students because they are also paying for it. That's a huge amount. I have not used a calculator because I'm not good with quick maths.
Thank you so much. Corbett, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can talk a bit about the financial stuff. So I ran rough numbers looking at the cheapest potential options for if you were to pay your own way for transit, like you didn't get a monthly pass. And that's if you load up your Compass card and you tap only, that works out to be about $2.40 per trip each way. whether it's on bus or transit, or sorry, SkyTrain. So if you have anywhere from 5 to 7 round trips, whether it's 1 zone to 3 zone, if you do more than that, then it's cheaper to have the UPass. That's that point. The other point is if we are to, reimburse up to potentially half of our student population if the survey results scale up, and then that works. So it's about $164 per term times 13,000 students roughly. That's 2.1 million, which we obviously don't have.
Thanks, Corbett. Yeah, I think at this point we will be relying on the survey to inform, I guess, what our next steps are, and that on top of the fact that we have to make sure that we're considering what the GSS needs, and also what our undergraduate students who do need the UPass to, make a living and to take care of their families need as well. So Jennifer, I guess to answer your question, there are still a lot of things left to be considered, but we want to make sure that we have the proper data and information in front of us before we go ahead and make those decisions. Samad?
So just to clarify right now, on the basis of this data, we are not really making any kind of decision. We still have, as Osop said, we still have a lot of data to come in, and we are going to gather it and make understanding what's the best course of action. But on the side of UAC, I'm continuously working with as a co-chair and with the USCA, TransLink, and Ministry to find the best way possible for our students. So nothing is confirmed yet, but we are all trying really, really hard to relieve students from financial burden and help everyone out. So, but there are a lot of things to consider here. So,
Perfect. So, is there any other discussion on this or the COVID fall or late semester survey? Cool. I am sure that Samad and Gabe will be giving updates on this in the near future as well. So I think we're safe to move on. So let me see if there are any amended bits. Yes, so I added a discussion item about police presence on campus. So I wanted to give folks an update that Gabe and I yesterday had a meeting with some of the folks from Career Services. Tony and Jocelyn were their names, and they are the ones essentially who helped to facilitate the career fairs that happen, in which, the RCMP comes typically to do some recruitment. So we met with them to see what solutions that we can come up with, and based on the general conversation, and I can open up my notes here and kind of give people a rundown of what happened, essentially, was that they said it was a complex issue because they do have a lot of different employers and different groups that come in, and that they need some kind of mandate to actually turn away people from coming. And so the issue is, if they want to stop having police recruiters on campus, they need to have some kind of policy put in place or some kind of really good reason, they said, to stop bringing recruiters on campus. The good news is they did say that they were interested in working on this and essentially made a commitment to work with us on this. But now it's a situation where we need to make sure that we're following up, and so that this doesn't fall through. I mean, on my part, I did say to them, I think, the fact that RCMP and police presence makes students very, very unsafe on campus is a really big deal. And amidst the calls of us calling that we support the defunding of the police force, and also calls to defund and abolish police forces all over the world, this is not just like a typical, this is not something small, and this is not equivalent to just not liking a certain non-for-profit and not liking that they're there. Like, this is student safety and well-being on the line, which I made sure to emphasize in the meeting as well, and as did Gabe. But at this point, we are looking to have a meeting with SFU Safety Services and hope to develop some kind of guidelines around who is allowed to come to these career fairs. And we will continue working on this until eventually the police and RCMP are no longer allowed to come on here as campus recruiters. Bilqis, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really important, considering that racialized people on campus are traumatized like by police presence and RCMP presence. And there is a history of that right on SFU campus that I know Silka is aware of, and we've dealt with cases, and it's traumatizing. So that should be enough of a reason. I guess my question is, you said volunteer career services needs a mandate and have some sort of policy in place. I'm really glad to hear that they want to work with us. That's really cool. I guess my question is exactly where would this mandate come from, and who would write this policy, or like who typically would write this policy?
Yeah, and thank you for the question. That's a good question. I think that's why we're having a follow-up meeting pretty soon with the safety and career services. Usually we have a student safety meeting that happens in October, but we're hoping to push that up to hopefully a lot sooner. So we can get, because we did have a pretty brief 30-minute meeting, so we will be following up to get more details as to what kind of policy would it look like, who's writing the policy, and to also make sure that once the policy is written and drafted, that we're able to give our input on it. But essentially we're kind of at step one right now. We got the commitment. Now it's just making sure that it's all followed through with and is a done deal by the next time, hopefully before career fairs start coming out again. Cool. Anaki? Is anyone else not able to hear her? Yeah, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. No. Try signing off and coming back on. Have to go now, enjoy your weekend. Thank you, Shanika. I hope you have a good weekend as well. Take care.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, what I wanted to say was Balkis covered some of the things I wanted to ask, but I'm confused what they mean by mandate, because isn't like police brutality enough of a reason? Isn't like BIPOC and marginalized, disabled, LGBTQIA+, whatever, like all these different groups, their experience enough of a reason? And yeah, like I'm interested to hear like what their reasoning and everything is, and yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you, Anki. And that's something that we're hoping to follow up on as well. And you're right, and I agree. And I think there will be some benefit in having policy come out of this, so that it doesn't, in 5 years from now, they decide to, if they have a policy in place, and maybe 5 years from now, we won't have to worry about this issue again. Making sure that the university can go back on their word as well will be an important piece. Bilfis?
Yeah, definitely agree with you, Rasim, on having a solid policy to look back to. Also, Anaki, we know that like stalling in general is an institutionally racist tactic that is used. Like institutions typically, they're like, we're going to be consulting and all that stuff. For what reason? There usually is not. It's just frankly a stalling tactic that is just like deeply racist. Just believe marginalized people, right? So thanks for bringing that up.
Thanks, Bilfis, and thank you, Anaki. Heather, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Anuki and Bilkis both raised very good points. I would just like to add, I think also you said both students are scared on campus, especially me. Like when I'm driving in Vancouver, especially after all these incidents that happened regarding police brutality, when I'm driving in Vancouver, I don't drive slow because I'm gonna get pulled over and get fined. I don't drive slow because of that. I drive slow because I'm scared if I get pulled over, as a person of color, I might not come out alive because of that. And it's just not me. There are other people of color who feel like that as well. And once my mother called me and she also told me to drive slow. And I told her I have a very good control on driving. She's like, I'm hearing a lot of news about police in US, what they're doing. So you should drive slow regarding that. And just to calm her down, I told her I'm in Canada and like it's safe over here, even though it's not. But she was my mother, just to like calm her down. I lied about that. So I just want to add this.
Thanks for sharing, Heather. Yeah. So does anybody else want to make a comment or ask any questions? This is something that Gabe and I will be making sure to follow up with very, very closely and to give periodic updates as things progress. So I'm hoping that this is a step in the direction that we want to go. So barring any other discussion, I think we can probably move on. Just making sure I didn't miss any other amendments before we go in camera. Cool. Okay, so I think we're good. So board members and Lawrence, I sent out a link to an in-camera session. And then for any other folks who are here, we will be back momentarily for the guest 30-minute Q&A and adjournment. So if you would like to stay for that, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't want to stay for the 30-minute Q&A, thank you for coming and you're welcome to go. But I'm going to go through that right now. So be resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. Would someone like to move? Samad? Would someone like to second? Gabe, thank you. Any discussion? And this is just to provide the in-camera more like HR specific updates on the administrative restructuring. So, all right, seeing none. All right, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor? Seeking unanimous consent. Seeing none, the motion is carried. So folks, I did send out an email to the link, so please hang up here, go onto that link, and then we will come back here to go X camera. So see you all in a moment. Hi, everyone. Cool. So, we can go X camera now. So be it resolved to go X camera. Would someone like to move that?
I'll move.
Which moves? Would
I'll
someone like to
second.
second? Corbett seconds, perfect. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent. We have quorum again, right? Yeah, we do. Okay, perfect. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. Seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously, and we are back X camera. So we can move on to guest 30-minute Q&A. And Paige sent me a message. She did have to leave, but she did want to ask a question. Let me just read it out. So this is on behalf of the Peak, and she's asked, it's not, if SFU admin is so determined to maintain instructor freedom, could they require these professors to provide a description of how they plan on running the course that may show on the faculty's website, or even better, in the Go SFU description where students pick their courses? Jennifer, you can go ahead.
I remember at one of the meetings, they literally were telling professors, if you're unsure if it will be synchronous or asynchronous, just put down both so that, you know, if you change it halfway, students won't get mad. So even if you're planning to do, even if professors are planning to do mostly asynchronous, they have to, if there's a little chance that they might do synchronous, depending on how the semester goes, they have to put on a course outline asynchronous or synchronous, just so students won't be surprised. I don't think professors will be prepared enough to put all this stuff in the course outline, at least not in time for open enrollment. So I'm not very optimistic about that.
Cool. Thanks, Jennifer, for the update. I think that covers it. Does anyone else have any comments or want to add to this? All right, it doesn't look like it. So does anyone else want to ask a question? Am I anyone else? I guess I made Zaid because you're the only person who's still here.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right, in that case, I think we can move to adjournment. So, be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 5:15 p.m. Would someone like to move?
Heather.
Heather moves. 5:15 a.m., I guess. Would someone like to second? Someone's hands up, so someone can second. All right, so, all right, we can put.
Excuse me, point of order. Samad's breaking the rules.
What do you do? Put his hand up?
I'm joking, Asad. Continue.
Oh, okay. All right, all those in favor, seeking unanimous consent, please unmute your mic if you'd like to dissent or abstain. All right, seeing none, the motion is carried. The meeting is over. Thank you, everyone. Happy birthday, Sude. I hope you had a good one.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday today.
Thank you so much.
How old are you turning?
I don't want to say 20.
Oh, okay.
Like, we people are here turning 24, 26, and you think 20? It's bad? Oh, the meeting has been recorded? Okay.